Trained journalist, history expert, and combat photographer in Central America.
It was an illegal covert operation. It was one of the darkest moments of my life.
The Vietnamese admitted they had arrested Knight and Graham for violating the territory of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, and they were in prison. But now, the Vietnamese played pirate, demanding a ransom of $10,000 per man.
The British government would not pay a ransom, would they? They don't pay official ransoms. They always make a thing of, we don't pay, otherwise it just happens again.
I was held for 11 months, and 7 of those I was in solitary confinement.
By the 17th of May, 1984, Graham was free and returned to America. In the years that followed, Graham's thirst for adventure remained unquenched. He succeeded in working as a photojournalist, and also, ironically, for the CIA during the US war in El Salvador.
Greetings and welcome back to Alaska and the Cork Graham podcast. Been a while, hasn't it? Well, I've been going down some rabbit holes that are going to be very interesting in the coming weeks, that I'll be reporting on for you. Still be doing the podcast with interviews, but we're going down a road right now, as we saw with the Charlie Kirk political assassination, that it's amazing how I look at this and it's just this total wash, rinse, repeat. They did the same thing they did to frickin' JFK. They ran the operation in the same exact way. Everybody's been distracted by the Oswald, and Oswald was the guy who was up in the book depository back in Dallas, and nobody was paying attention to the 2 guys in the front seat. But when you see the wound and you see the actions of the people in the back seat, the manner in which JFK, his head flips back, and they used to try and pull bullshit on people and say, oh, well, that's just the way, bullets work, because most people don't understand ballistics, so I'm going to run ballistics with you, because that's actually my specialty. I've been a gun writer since, 1994? I've shot guns since I first lived in the United States and I could legally handle a gun. Because remember, Vietnam and Singapore, if you weren't with the military or the government, in Singapore, if you were caught with a gun, that was actually an executable crime if you were not legally allowed to have a gun when I was a kid in Singapore, along with drugs. So when I got to the States and I could say that I was red, white, and blue American, I jumped at the chance to when my father bought me my first .22. And from then on, I improved my shooting skills to the point where I was really good in Central America. And that's why I was a shoo-in when I went through the sniper training at SEMFA during the war. Other stuff that people don't know about. But like if you look, see that diploma right there? That diploma is from the Salvadoran Navy SEALs. Why do I have that? I was recruiting. Yeah, we'll talk about that, because this little patsy who got recruited, yeah, he's the Oswald. Just like last time. This is the thing that people don't get about these people. They're evil, but they're not creative. And in actuality, they're not very intelligent. They're just, as a friend of mine actually complimented me by saying this, because, and I understand what she was saying because she was Chinese, to say that I was cunning, that I am cunning. Yeah, these people are cunning. But these people are not only cunning, they're freaking evil. They've been doing this for centuries. We're just catching up. And the reason we're probably catching up is because we have this very same technology that they're banking on in order to build up their power scheme could hopefully be their downfall, but that's only through communication. So I hope that the information I'm going to reveal to you, and the information I'll be revealing to you in the future weeks, in the weeks to come, will enable you to see clearly about what is happening, what has been happening, how evil it is, what has been taken away from you, which you thought was not taken away from you, and how they've been playing you through every war, especially every foreign war that we've had in this country, or that we've been participating in. I'll show you the documentation. It's there. It's so well documented, it's unbelievable. But you're too busy working and paying the bills. Why is that? Why can you barely get across? Why are you jumping through the hoops? Why are you the little freaking rat on the treadmill having to run? Why are they doing that? There are various forms of bread and circuses. They hit us with the internet, social media, getting us all involved in chaos. All these keyboard commandos yelling and bitching at each other. That's what they love. They love that. And that's how they're playing us. I mean, that's the whole evil thing about this, is they have learned, they have perfected this skill. Going all the way back to the crucifixion of Christ, where they say it was the Jews who did it. Was it all the Jews who did it? No. There are specific people who were in that crowd yelling and screaming for Christ to be crucified. And then they used the Romans in order to implement their actions. And it's interesting who's become the heavies. And I'll talk about in the future how Israel has become the heavy. When dirty stuff has to be done in the world, Mossad, former IDF specialists, they're the ones who are tasked with doing this kind of stuff. Because they're good at it. They've been doing it for a long time. Remembering all the assassinations way back with Ben Gurion. The whole group of attacks in, quote, original Palestine, when the Brits were creating Israel alongside the Nazis. Did you know that the Nazis had an office in Palestine when they were assisting the Germans to the Jews to leave Germany? And it was a very friendly, here's your own country. And how is that own country going to be? And actually, there was an allegiance that all the Jews who were coming, this is before the war, mind you, this is in the 30s. They were leaving for Palestine. And was it Lord Balfour was assisting from the British side. All this stuff being played out. We'll talk about how we went under the control of the Brits very shortly after the American Revolution, which was actually the first Civil War. It was a civil war against the king, against the crown. My ancestors were in that. My other line of ancestors were on the Plymouth, on the Mayflower when it landed at Plymouth, under the name of Fuller, Edward and Samuel. Edward died, and then his brother took over the custody. Dr. Samuel Fuller took over the custody of his nephew Samuel Fuller. Well, that's my direct line on my great-grandmother's side. So I look at this history, and I look at what's been playing out, and I look at the fact that under Alexander Hamilton, when he created the central bank, he did it under the advice and direction of the Bank of England. And if you look at the Bank of England is actually just another tool of this cabal. And people say, oh, it's the Rothschilds. We'll talk about the Rothschilds. We'll talk about the Rockefellers. Talk about the time I met Nelson Rockefeller in Singapore when I was a kid. I've met these people. I know these people. I know how they work. You know how freaking short Nelson Rockefeller really was? But you look at the pictures, you think he's this big grand man. Little people. And yet, they've been enabled to have all this power. Why is that? What have they played upon you to make you think that they're so much better than you? They run through fear. They run through bribery. They use all the vices in order to get you. All this stuff happening with Epstein. That's all. It's just continuation of all this other stuff that's been happening. So I've been going through this rabbit hole. And as I've been going down through this rabbit hole, all documented on how our education system, was stolen from us. So, because I look at all these stupid monkeys, and I got to ask you, are you a stupid monkey? Are you furious at the idea that, oh, it's the transgender who did this, the leftist who did this, or it's like the right who did this, that Trump really did this? Are you so fucking stupid that you are so easily played by these people to get all ramped up, to get all angry? And most of you guys haven't even been in combat. You've never gone to war. So that's actually kind of a bummer, that if you get through war, it kind of teaches you to, like, hey, stop. Let's take a look at what's really happening here. Because that actually might save your life. Saved my life many times. Saved the lives of my teammates. Think before you move, but move. Realize things that have been stolen from you. Your country's been stolen from you. Do you know when your country was stolen from you? It was stolen from you in 1791. Why? Because Benjamin Franklin died the year before. And because he died the year before, he wasn't there to be vigilant, as they warned us about, to not be distracted on the need for security, the need to have financial gain that seems to have replaced the idea of being vigilant and not letting the government do things for you that you should be doing yourself, which actually includes security, local security. The idea that we're not supposed to have a standing military. Because when you have a standing military, it's not a tool of the people, it's a tool of the government. If it's a tool of the government, it becomes the enemy of the citizen. This is proven century after century after century. Every nation that started off as a democracy or as a republic and then works its way into an empire. From an empire, everything's lost. And then the last big empire that we kind of emulate, which is Rome, they did the same thing with bread and circuses. So while they had gladiators and orgies and all this kind of crap going on, we had the orgies, we have the furries, we have the freaks, we have football, and we have these big religious, whatever religion it might be, distraction. Muslim, Christian, Jewish, all of it. It's all a distraction from you being strong and being an individual working with other individuals. In the weeks coming, I'm going to show you how this move, this change from what made America great and has actually made nations previous to the United States great, was individualism brought together to work towards a common goal. Not what's happened in this country in the last 100 years, which is we've moved from the individual, I don't even hear that terminology anymore. I used to hear it all the time when I was a kid. Individualism made America great. We all got together and we made things happen. Now it's collectivism. Collectivism is a euphemism for socialism. Socialism is a doorway for communism. They get communism, you absolutely have no power. And many people will be asking, why is it that the wealthy elite would want communism in this country? Because even in a monarchy, you still have an opportunity for the people to be represented through the barons, etc., and the lords. But in a communist state, a true communist state, you have true totalitarianism. And then you have no representation. Just the mass has a representation, and it's a mass that's talked down to from the Politburo and the Politburo leader. Basically, God and their angels, or Satan and their demons, talking down to the people and telling them what to do. So what we're watching and seeing happen is we're seeing these events in the country constantly keeping us divided. It's that old idea of divide and conquer, constantly keeping us in chaos, dealing with economics, dealing with the threat of violence, whether it's on our streets, in our subways, on our campuses. And they're repeatedly trying to disarm you in order to make sure that you finally are in such disarray that you will just say, hey, please take over. And then you've totally acquiesced your freedom and liberty to the government. And once that's happened, you're done. Then they do the same stuff they started doing in Cambodia and in China, which is communism never works economically. So it has to thin out in order to feed those who are left. And so that's why you have executions and you have starvations, you have famines. These are all tools of destruction. These are all tools of thinning. It's just like the big mosquito bite. How many have died from that? We're talking in the millions around the world. That was an attempt of thinning. You give them the power to do whatever they want, especially when they get digital banking. And if you haven't heard about digital banking, you should listen to Austin Fitz. Catherine Fitz, Catherine Austin Fitz. Listen to what she has to say about it. Good stuff there. So the way they've been doing this is destroying your education. They've been educating you to be pro-collective. So you're part of the hive. It's just like the Borg. They want you to be non-thinking, reporting, just connected. That's what all this AI stuff is all about. Is to turn us into one giant Borg colony. No questioning, no critical thinking. You're just supposed to do what they tell you to do. Think the way they want you to think. And if you don't, you're ostracized. So this horrific event with Charlie Kirk. I wanted to wait on reporting because everybody's jumping on it. You're hearing all this stuff. I'm seeing all these videos by people who have no idea about how firearms work, how bullets travel through the air, what bullets do when they hit. Now, I have a farm, and I have to slaughter a few more pigs, but I've been slaughtering pigs like crazy because I'm closing up the farming business, and we're just going to have couple piglets in the spring, raise them through the summer, and then the rest of the year I'll be able to travel and do the kind of reporting I used to do when I was in my teens. And I'll be showing you places where you might want to move to, and places you won't want to move to, and I'll tell you why and show you why. And it'll blow you away. I'm amazed at how many people have been moving to these different countries. And it's like, have you studied the history of all this? Do you know what happens when things are bad here in these places? Because people don't understand the luxury we've had, not only in the United States, North America, and Europe, but the whole world as a result of this Bretton Woods financial boom that continued to roll and roll and roll. Part of it led by this cabal. Other part of it led by people who just wanted to, quote, improve things for the world and make a better world. But remember, the road to hell is marked by good deeds. Yeah, think about that. And we have been going down this road where they tell you that, oh, global warming. And then you start to realize, wait a minute, global warming is going to happen on its own. There's nothing you can do about it. You just have to be ready for it. So while they're telling you to get ready for global warming, we're freezing our asses off more and more. We don't get real summers up here in Alaska like we used to. Why is that if it's global warming? Are they prepping you to die in the cold? Because when it gets hot, all you got to do is get in the shade. When it gets cold, you'll freeze to death. Big difference. That's a great way to thin people out. People aren't even thinking about this. So they've been stealing our education, and I'll be showing in the front how they have modified our education, stolen our history, rewritten the history books through the funding of our own tax dollars, and tax-exempt foundations, like the Carnegie Endowment, the Ford Foundation, and the Rockefeller Foundation. Stolen. They've been hitting us from all these different points. And people think, you would initially think they were good, and then later they realize, oh my God, their representation, their great propaganda is to be invited in. It's the whole saying of, the Satan's great skill was to be invited in. And that's how he gets into your house. And that's what's happened. And it brings up the questions of who are the players in this game. That's why I'm always telling people, go read the book, Pawns in the Game. You got to read Pawns in the Game. Read my book on the media business. I wrote about the reality of my experience starring on Treasure Coast Snake Island. And people thought, oh, that's just a book about reality TV. No, it's not. It's about media. It's about how the media has been used to dumb you down so that you're prepped and ready to be inundated by information that they want to use to lead you down a road that you do not want to be following. And that's a road we've been following since the 80s with the Department of Education, but it goes farther back than that. I mean, I'm 60 years old right now. Okay? My dad was born in 1930. He was born, 5 years before they really started aggressively hitting our education system. And they started by hitting our history education, US history, rewriting the books. And then we go even further back, and I'm going to show you how they have fundamentally changed our culture and our societies. And the way they do that is by war. And they've been doing it, the actual kernel of a conversation where it was actively premeditated and planned began in 1908. Again, all of this is documented. But you don't have time to check this kind of stuff up. And that's the reason I do this work. So hopefully you're going to find how useful it is for you to plan and do what you need to do. Hopefully you're going to, right now, subscribe so you can be notified when the next, subscribe and follow so that you're notified of the next installment of what's happening, how it's playing out, and what you can do to prep yourself. Because it's all about prepping right now. We're past the idea of defending the country. Your country's been stolen from you. Your country was stolen from you in 1914. It was stolen you actually previously when they created the Federal Reserve. It has nothing to do with the government. That's not a good central bank. A good central bank is beholding to the people. An evil central bank is owned by 12 foreign banks whose objective is taking everything you have. That's how they enslave you. They take all your possessions, and then they're even telling you. The latest one, of course, we had was WF. You're going to own nothing and be happy. They're trying to tell you, they're trying to hypnotize you to believe this crap. Think about it. What's the best slave? The best slave is the one who wants to stay on the plantation. And they've done a damn good job. It's wild. I mean, you look at what they've done with the social systems that they have in this country. Those are not designed to help you out. They're designed in order to enslave you and enslave your next generations. So your generations are accustomed to keep on going down that road, and you won't say a damn thing. That's also one of the reasons that the biggest entity, when you're so top-heavy that the government is the biggest customer of private industry, and private industry continuously shrinks, how do you balance a pyramid that has flipped up on its top? It's cattywalk. It's totally upside down. I mean, the smallest part should be government, and they're only supposed to be administering what we tell them to do. Now they're thought of as the leadership. They aren't the leadership. You're supposed to be the leaders. But you're so divided, and you hate each other, and you're fighting each other, and they're laughing about it. That's why they created communism. That's why they got Bolsheviks going. That's why they freaking came up with all the ideas for Karl Marx, who was a bum. And they gave them to him. He didn't come up with that crap. They never come up. This is the thing. When you see someone who's famous for something, like a George Soros, or this poor kid, this patsy, who they said killed, or like Oswald, who they said killed. No. Those are the patsies. Karl Marx was a patsy. Lenin was a patsy. He was a banker, actually, in London before they sent him back to Russia. History will save you, and action based on what you know will deliver you back to freedom. But you need to pay attention. You need to look at the facts. And do not be distracted by all this crap that's happening right now. I've been watching all these videos on the assassination of Kirk. Charlie Kirk, rest in peace. And one of them is just disgusting. I'm not even going to mention this account. But he's saying, oh, well, Charlie Kirk, it's just a sham. It was just a big theater thing and he wasn't killed. Okay, well, you know what? I've seen a lot of people shot. And in the last week, I've killed a lot of pigs. And one of the things I look for is a kind of blood spurt, which means it's going to happen real fast. And that is an arterial cut. That I do it with a Bowie knife. Actually, with a super Bowie from a SOG. But I stun the animal with a 22. If it's a large one, I use a 22 Winchester mag, which is this round right here. We're getting into ballistics right now, so let's get into ballistics a little bit. We're going to talk about rounds. So this is a 22 Winchester mag. Okay? Right there. That should zoom in right there. Okay. And then, this is an M16 round, right? So that shows you how, let's get this freaking focused. Can we do it? Yeah, I think we got it. There you go, that looks good. So that is the difference between a 22 Winchester mag, smaller one, and a M4 or M16 round. Even that's the old green tip that we had back in the 80s. Now here is a 22 long rifle. Oop, drop that one. And a 22 Win mag. So the 22 long rifle, I use that. Let's focus on that. I use that for the piglets, or roasters. They're about 60, 70 pounds. And basically, I aim, there's a specific way to shoot them in the head so that you actually hit the brain and you don't do something really bad, which ends up in a really messy situation. So, 22 long rifle, 22 Win mag. Win mag right there. Okay. And Charlie Kirk is dead. He was dead before they even got into the vehicle, based on how he bled out. And at first, everyone was talking about the plate and how it was ricocheting off the plate. And initially you think, oh yeah, well that makes a lot of sense. But you know, most plates are designed to actually absorb it, and it'll hurt like hell. I mean, it'll hurt like hell. But you'll be alive. But how did the carotid artery get nicked? And in the manner in which it occurred. And then there's the slow motion they've been doing of the video. And it's evident the shot actually came from back here and came across down to here, right about there. And that's where the spurt comes out all over his shirt. Okay. And that's traumatic. And you guys have been in it and you moved on with your lives like I've moved on. I don't need to see that shit. But I had to watch it over and over and over, because once I start getting in, I start to see bullshit being thrown around. I freaking can't stand it. And especially when, again, it's designed to create chaos and constant division, and everybody's focusing on this. And the key is to understand why this happened. What was he talking about? Everybody, I mean, and just the idea that of late, you know, Tucker, I do not agree with Tucker a lot of times because I think he's a fucking idiot. And I will show you how he's a fucking idiot. Because some of the stuff comes out of his mouth, it's based on lack of experience. He's a kid. He was a little kid with his daddy in San Diego on the boat. I've seen the videos. You've seen the videos probably. When I was getting shot at in El Salvador. Yeah. And coming back and to see all this stuff, and everybody's like gesturing about what they think they know and what they think they know about boomers and all this kind of stuff. And when Tucker even said that, oh, my dad's not a boomer. No, your dad is a boomer. Yeah, boomers are actually from the beginning of the war, 40, 41, all the way through. My dad was not a boomer. My dad was part of the silent generation. That was the Korean War veteran. That was the one that was just young enough to get out of World War II, but definitely old enough to be in Korea. And Korea sucks. And there's a reason why it's called the silent generation, why it's called the forgotten generation, which I find ironic considering me participating in the secret war, forgotten war and the secret war. The wars they don't want you to know about because it doesn't fit with the military-industrial complex, the MIC. And that's part of what this is all about, which brings in Israel and why Israel is there. And this is the thing about it. I tell people, if you're a good Jew, you should really be pissed off about Israel, because Israel was not there to protect Jews. Israel is there to create chaos, because the people who created Israel are Zionists. And Zionists, a true Zionist is an atheist. Just like the founder, Herzl, was an atheist Jew. So think about that. If you're Jewish, don't believe in God, so you have all this traumatic experience of being Jewish, but you don't even have the salvation of believing in God, or the softening of believing in God, a God, then all you're about is power and control. And here you have Israel, who had their golden boy, who was Charlie Kirk. Until Charlie finally saw the light and said, wow, these people don't believe in God, they just believe in freaking power and control. And they've done such a damn good job of overtaking our country that people aren't even aware of what's happened. And you get called for this, and you say, oh, well, you're an anti-Semite. It's like, screw you. I got good friends who are Jewish. And you know what? When I was younger, I watched all the movies like anybody. So I was born in 64. So that's why it's hard for me to say that I'm a boomer, because I don't really feel that I'm a boomer. I always consider people who went to Vietnam or demonstrated against Vietnam, those were boomers. Okay? But by the time my generation, my era of being born in 64, I mean, I saw Vietnam because I lived there. That was the reason I know the bullshit of Walter Cronkite, who they always refer to, oh my God, if it came out of his mouth, it's the truth. That's the way it is. No, it ain't. No, it ain't. It's such bullshit. Just like all the media has always been bullshit. That's why it was so easy for the agency to fucking recruit me when I was in Central America, because I was just so fed up with all the bullshit I was seeing in El Salvador. And it was all pro-commie. And why was it all pro-commie? And why is State Department so fucked up? And if State Department's so fucked up, why is CIA so fucked up? And why do we have relationships with Mossad when their full fucking job is to fucking spy on us and control us? It's like, talk to anybody who's been a case officer who freaking had to deal with being stationed in fucking Israel. Yeah, and the treatment. Yeah, what's his name? Kirk. He's the same age as me. Totally different world. Shit, by the time I was done, he was coming in. This shit is so fucking just wild. I mean, they were killing the dogs of case a couple. He talked about a couple who was freaking stationed there, and freaking Mossad freaking killed their dog. How nice is that? Welcome to the country. So that's how we get treated by these people who are supposed to be our allies, right? So what happens when we stop sending them all this money? And that's a big concern to Bibi. And I highly recommend you watch the movie about him. Bibi. Just type in Bibi, documentary, on YouTube. It's always being moved around because they don't want you to know about that movie, which is basically that Israel was going to be in a full-on civil war between real Jews, good Jews, who just wanted to get away from this freaking Nazi fascist bullshit that has taken over, is just fully formed in Israel right now, to the point that they are freaking committing genocide. It's genocide. And yeah, okay, well, they've got terrorists. Well, who created Hamas? You ever asked about that? Remember, if Israel was created in order to fuck things up, remember divide and conquer? To screw things up and really just exploit chaos. Remember, these people are into exploiting chaos. What better way to create chaos than having a nation state that's under your control? And that would be under the control of the Bank of England. And doesn't Rothschild always talk about how, well, he's the one that's dead right now. He just passed away. But he was always talking about, oh yes, we were the ones who created Israel. As though it was a great, wonderful thing. Instead of, it's like, no, we just want to have a bunch of operators there who don't even have to work because they take money from us, the US, from the Federal Reserve, and they send it over to Israel to pay all these, quote, farmers who who habitate on this land. Think about that. These are games being played around the world. CIA, MI6, Mossad. We're all playing these games. KGB. Before that, the NKVD. They never lose. This group never lose. When we talk about the club, this is the club. You and I are not members of this club. I know my ancestors tried to get away from this club, or the control of this club, all the way back in the 1600s, straight from frickin' Plymouth Rock. And after that, from Ulster, trying to get the hell away from all that stuff over in Europe. But now it's all in the Americas. And now they're trying to consolidate. Look at what's happening down in Argentina. Pretty freaking wild. So one of the postulations they were having was kind of pissing me off. Getting back to this thing with Charlie Kirk. There's a video that's out about like a guy brings up his cell phone, looking up, and they're looking, oh, it's like he's bringing up his, and he takes the shot. Well, I was like trying to work it, because actually that would be a great way to do it. And this is actually what I started carrying now. See, isn't that nice? It's the Ruger LCP2. It's a 22. Bunch of rounds in it. It shoots. That one right there. Oop. Remington. Golden bullet. High velocity. Good round. Small. Look how small that is. See? And look at that. Size. Size right there. iPhone. Okay? That's how small something like that can be off. And that wound was either from a 22 Win Mag or a 22 long rifle. Just enough to get through and burst on the other side. Could have even been a 22 CCI mini mag. Man, I've shot lynx 50 yards through the herring net that we use for protection for our chickens. Double lunged it. Through and through. But basically bled out. Creating a wound very similar. And everybody talking about, oh, you know, what's this 200 yards? 200 yards. I look at 200 yards and I think about like when I went caribou hunting, subsistence caribou hunting, right there, 200 yards. This one I shot at 50 yards. You see the spent shells in my rifle stock? That's a 270 Winchester mag. 270 Winchester. Center fire, right there. That's it right there. Okay. That rifle right there. That's pretty much close to the profile of what the shooter supposedly had. I love this rifle. I haven't used it in a while though. I've been doing my 338-06, which we're going to talk about. Super grade. It's because the stock and everything else is fine tooled. Trigger is freaking phenomenal. 3-inch. I mean 3-pound. And a 3x9 scope on top. But the rifle, Mauser, this is a Mauser action rifle. Shoots a 338-06, which is basically a 30-06 expanded out to a 338 bullet. And that's what I use for moose hunting and bear hunting up here. Loopholed, yeah, 2x12. What is it? The VX6 HD scope on top. Nosler bullets, 225 grain right now. And it's also got the heavy profile on the barrel. This is a heavier profile. It's actually along the lines of the Carlos Hathcock. I bought this rifle from a former Marine sniper. He built it, but he got too old, never could use it. And I said, well, I'll use that. And that's become my favorite hunting rifle from just about everything up here. But 200 yards. People think, oh, that's a sniper, really? Okay. So, shot this one, 50 yards. Shot this one, actually I shot all three coming up. Boom. 200 yards. 230 yards. And you can see up there, there's the second caribou, which was this one right back up here. That one. 230 yards right here. These two, on the run. This one, neck shot. That one, heart shot. So is it really that hard of a shot? No, it's not. But the issue is, what happened to the trajectory of the bullet? You can't have a shot like that not destroy, and I mean explode, that neck. And hitting, let's say it just came in and nicked. When you watch that bullet spurt out, it's not spurting from that direction. And it's not the entry coming in. Actually, yeah, so that would be over here. It's not the entry, it's the actual exit of where all that blood is coming out of. So, all these people are talking about these things, and again, it's distraction, distraction, distraction. What are they trying to do? They're trying to create chaos. They're trying to create chaos in this country. And the question is, who benefits from all this? Why? Why is this all happening here? You know, why are they doing this? Where you got to ask yourself, who is benefiting from this? And in the short term, it's Israel. And why does Bibi have to come out on camera and explain all this stuff? There's no reason to explain anything if you didn't commit something, right? You don't feel that you have to control the conversation. If you got to control the conversation, that means that you are trying to keep that conversation from going places. And a free country, this is concerning, because we're talking about, well, at the same time, was it the day before or the same day, they had a vote? How many people heard that vote, that if you work for a company that contracts out to the military, to the Pentagon, If you say anything bad, disparaging about Israel, you're done. You're not allowed to speak about things, even if the facts are there. We're walking down a road that's going to be very, very interesting. And we're hearing more and more that even Trump is afraid. When the President of the United States is afraid that Israel could assassinate him, does that forebode well? It's no secret. I mean, Max Blumenthal, I've been listening to him on the Gray Zone. He's spot on. And hey, I'm an anti-communist. He's a leftist. He's a flat-out socialist. And the people he has on, shit, he's got one, Oscar Leon, who's clearly, taking a look at him, Oscar Leon, he's from my mother's country. He's from Ecuador. He's a leftist. That's why he's living in Arizona right now. I bet you he was buddies with Correa. Who knows? But if the information is accurate, pay attention to the information. There's no saying. You know, don't look at the messenger, look at the message. What's the message? The message is divide and conquer. That's what they're trying to do. They're repeatedly trying to do it. And we're in a situation right now that people need to understand. It's not the idea, this whole idea of, defend the country. You're not defending the country if your country's already been stolen from you. Your country was stolen from you just before the beginning of World War I. It was stolen from you when they created the Federal Reserve. They used the Federal Reserve in order to bankroll. Remember, OPM, other people's money. Remember, they're always telling you that stuff if you want to become wealthy? OPM, OPM. So whose OPM is it? Oh, it's the opium. It's the OPM is your money. They steal from you illegally. Most people don't know that the act of paying your federal income tax is a voluntary act. It's not a required act. If you don't trust me, go check out agentfortruth.com, former IRS agent, until he's asked, like I do. I ask questions. Yeah. I asked questions when I came back from Central America, and I was told by the Bush administration to shut my mouth and move on with my life. Like, we won the war against the Soviet Union. And we were told to shut our fucking mouths and move on. Try looking for a job after 5 years of doing things that there's no resume. Think about that. What would that be like if you had to do that? I succeeded. I've done well. But that's because I was prepped. I was prepped by my lifestyle before that. And I'm going to be talking about that because there's a book by Doug Casey and Matt Smith called The Preparation. It's a good book. I highly recommend it. If you get a chance to order it, I'd recommend it for young men, even older men who are not prepared for this. And most men are not prepared for what is happening and what is coming. Just because your education, your experience, especially if you went to a Ivy League college, you're fucked. Your Ivy League college school is not the one that my dad went to. My dad went to Harvard, got an MBA. They had a program back then, I don't know if they still have it, where you could actually get credit for having worked previously. And since my dad had been in business since '58, starting in Cuba, Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and then off to Vietnam after he got that MBA. Totally different world before the education system was totally hijacked. And it was hijacked by these endowments. Check out Max Smith. I'm going to do a review on it. It's going to be a solid review. There's good things in that book. There's a lot more good things than things that were missed in that book. And the only reason I talk about that book right now, The Preparation, is because I am a result of that lifestyle. I knew that the education system had been hijacked. I didn't know to the level of what it had been hijacked. Not until I started reading the documentation. Let's put it in lighter terms. Un-American activities. Yeah, that's your little teaser. They stole our country through un-American activities. Now, they'll give you the charade of like, oh, well, communism in the 50s and the 30s and the 40s, that was nothing. But what if the people with the money were trying to modify your culture so that you would be a little bit more easier to fit in with the other side, meaning the Soviet Union? How could that happen? You'd have to stop being an individualistic nation, a nation of individuals creating a nation. You need to be a collective. You need to be part of the Borg. So I'm trying to get you to think. That's what this is all about. Because everybody else is trying to get you not to think. They want you to do exactly what they want you to do. Don't. Pay attention. Ask questions. Death and taxes. Is there no getting away from death and taxes? Well, death, yeah, that's a fact. But why do they tie that, taxes with death, to make it look like taxes are the same? How did this country thrive before we had the IRS? How did this country thrive before we had overtaxation of the people? How is it that one area benefits from the taxes of another area and puts nothing back? Canada is facing this right now with Alberta and Saskatchewan. Why are they shit on by Ottawa? And yet, everything that they produce is stolen from them by Ottawa. Think about that. It's just like the socialists in this country. They have no respect for what they have. They have no respect for where it comes from. And their objective is to destroy this country and just turn it into some utopia. And that's the lie of the utopia. Again, ask the questions. In the future, we'll be talking about how they did this, what you can do about this. But right now, I hope you're asking questions. Asking questions of the people who are supposedly representing you in office. Asking questions of the people who are going to go off and fight in these fucking wars that have nothing to do with your safety. As a matter of fact, they actually lead to your insecurity and lack of safety. And I hope you'll subscribe and go over to my other outlets. I'm on X, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Substack, I'm on YouTube. Go over and follow me over there. I'm not asking you to pay. If you'd like to, hey, buy me a cup of coffee. I love a cup of coffee. We'll talk about the different kinds of things that are coming. And I'll even start giving you some instructions on where to get squared away with your safety. You know, we don't talk too much about the things that you need to do, like learn how to shoot. So I was going to actually say, so started carrying this one because it's so much lighter and convenient. But at the same time, I live in Alaska, so I carry this because I'm very well versed in this. You can always tell someone who's a professional who has experience with a tool, like a carpenter wraps their handles on their hammers. Shooters who don't have that much of purchase on their grip know how to use skateboard tape. Try it, you'll like it. So, on that matter, I hope you try to shoot. I hope you're not living in the city. And for those of you who think that I'm a country boy, remember, I was born on an island in the Caribbean. I was raised in the Pearl of the Orient, both of them. Saigon, Singapore. And then San Francisco. How metropolitan can you be? And then I had to move into the country because I knew what was coming. And I hope you're doing the same. Cities are not going to be friendly places. You're already noticing this. Everything that's happening. It's like that old saying. First slowly, then all of a sudden. That's how these actions occur. There's the prep, There's the build-up and then the drop. Wall Street's based on this. People play this game. It's a game again. Bonds in the game. Haven't read it? Go pick up a copy. Read my book, So You Want to Be a Reality TV Star. It's not about reality TV. Sure it is. That's just a model. But what I'm talking about there is how they're controlling you and leading you down this road that you're being more and more susceptible to their programming. That's what reality TV is all about. Made them a lot of money. And remember, they do this for two reasons. Control and profit. Control and profit. Everything they do, control and profit. You see how that works. And they use the tools of pain and pleasure. If they want you to go down one way, they cause you to have uncomfortable feelings. When they want you to go in a way that they want to lead you and they realize that you're better led by pleasure, they give you the pleasure of economic success. But then they're controlling it. That wasn't the way it always was. There was a time, even in our modern, which I'm talking 200 years, 250 years, where we had freedoms. And that's the reason we had the ability to think. We had the ability to think because you had time. People don't have time right now. Time allows thinking. And as was it John D. Rockefeller said when he took over our education system, he says, I don't want thinkers, I want workers. I want workers, not thinkers. Think about that. Again, like, subscribe. Come over and visit me on Substack. I'm writing more articles over at Substack, reporting on all the things that are happening around the world. Also, probably in your local area. You might want to know about it, especially if you don't. And let me tell you, they're keeping a lot of secrets from you. And some stuff, it's not even a secret. You're just not paying attention. I hope you're going to be paying attention more now. Understanding what they have taken from you and what you're going to have to take back. If not for yourself, then for your children. That's my hope. On that, God bless. And see you on the flip side.